While there may not be a typical entrepreneur in terms of all these demographic things, there are some common characteristics, personality attributes or attitudes toward things that seem like they create a higher probability of success as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
We could agree on that, right?
Totally agree.
One of those is the discipline that we just keep coming back to over and over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Hard work, discipline. You got those things, you got a lot of what you need, okay? Okay, everybody, we are back in the studio once again.
Yeah, baby.
Together, brothers in arms,
Yes.
for another episode of
Big
Talk About Small Business. I had to do that. Eric always does something like that. But today he was straight.
Yeah, man.
So how are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good. I actually, I wanted to kick us off with I did make a LinkedIn post. You just brought it up.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah.
Right. And it was, and I was just thinking, like, I'm always kind of constantly frustrated. Mm-hmm. Like just continuously frustrated about everything and about every conversation I have.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a little post about it last night. And, you know, I just want to kind of clear the air on it some, because people might take it like that's a negative thing, but I don't see it that way.
Right.
Because my end statement was, you know, I'm frustrated about all these different types of things. But my end statement was, but I love improving.
Yes.
And so I see, my perspective is when I recognize my frustration, like I have lived in frustration for a long time, and it felt negative. I question why I'm always so frustrated. Is there something wrong with me in my life and my choices that create my frustrating circumstances?
Yeah. Something wrong and something good.
Yeah.
It's the truth, right?
Yeah. It turns in, when you think about it, it's actually a great thing.
Yeah. That's why you move ahead.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I've always said that, like, you know, somebody who's satisfied in their job is unmotivated.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, motivation comes from dissatisfaction with the status quo.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that, like, my epiphany to it is when I realized, like, wait a minute, this frustration that I have, this generalized frustration about things not being fast enough, things not being cheap enough, not necessarily for me, although that does lend to frustration, but it ends up being not cheap enough for my client or my customer to be able to adopt what I'm doing.
Yes.
I want it to be less and less and less expensive.
I get it.
I want it to be faster and faster and faster, and I want it to be better and better and better.
I'm in the
Constantly.
same, it does exactly, because those are the only three benefits you can ever provide.
Right.
Is faster, better, and cheaper.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing. It's that's it. It all boils down to that.
And I'm sure you've heard, like, you can only, there's three of them, right?
Yeah,
Cheaper,
pick two.
fast. Yeah, you pick two. But I don't even adopt that philosophy.
No, I don't
I want
either.
all freaking three.
I agree. 100%.
And I'm frustrated until that magical day might happen, which I don't think will ever come.
But it's the pursuit of that that drives improvement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Dude,
Yeah.
that's why you and I do this, okay? I mean, we think alike in a lot of ways. I'm not saying we agree on everything, but there's certain conclusions that you come to when you've been doing this stuff as long as we have, and across these different types of businesses, you know, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I totally understand. I could say it's the same thing. I'm frustrated. You've said it before. Business is nothing but problems. And it's true. It's problem. But, you know, I was just having this discussion with one of my business partners last night. But if you take the 40,000 foot view, as they say, and you look at where we are right now, in spite of a million problems, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We got improvements in so many different areas. The team's better, than it was. We're selling stuff in spite of a horrible market and things going on out there in the environment that could be negative for our buyers. I mean, you can just go down the list. There's a lot of stuff to feel good about.
There is.
All the systems that we have are improving.
Yep.
Vastly improved over the last year.
Yeah. And being able to look at those things.
Yeah.
Being grateful about those things. That's the thing.
Yes.
You have to have, you know, and like a lot of things, when you when you post something, you're expressing a thought, right? You're not trying to build a freaking comprehensive open AI report.
Yeah.
I'm expressing this thought of frustration.
Yep.
And on the high note, but the reality is, and a follow-up to that is the gratefulness of exactly what you talked about what you have achieved.
Yeah.
And so being able to stop and see those things is really important as well.
Yeah.
And which I am grateful. I'm grateful for all the relationships I've had in business. It's been fantastic. I mean, there's been some negative ones, but I mean, I'm even grateful for those because I learned so much.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I'm grateful to see people grow. I'm grateful to meet people. I mean, I do business because I like to be around people.
I understand. I mean, for most of us, most of our friends come from our clients and employees. I mean, people we deal with. That's in business.
Yeah.
That's where they come from.
That's it.
That's it. So yeah, I get it. I'm with you 100%. Well, today we're supposed to be talking about the fact that there is no typical entrepreneur.
Very true.
Which I agree with. I mean, I've seen everybody from the Colonel Sanders of the world, who was over 65 or whatever he was when he started KFC, to 14-year-olds out there knocking the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety, right?
Yeah.
But there may be some common characteristics of those people.
I would agree.
Okay. Just because there's no typical entrepreneur, and I think it's interesting to me. It's like, I think maybe we even touched on it. We did touch on it in the last big talk about small business that we had last week. Mm-hmm. This idea about how much you have to work and how available you have to be and how engaged and committed that you have to be.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, people can argue with me all day, but if that's not a common characteristic across the board, I don't know what is.
Certainly is.
And
it's, and I've experienced myself, seen other people experience, the idea that you can be passively an entrepreneur, you really can't. It's not even, you're not in the right category, right? And speaking of that,
you're an investor.
You're an investor at that.
You're not an entrepreneur,
which is fine.
Yeah, it is.
Don't if you mix the two,
don't get confused.
Yeah, mix the two, you find yourself in a world of hurt on both sides, honestly. Because investors have to have a lot of patience. They have to see like you said, the big picture. They have to wait it out. There's a lot to that.
You say that we're in a world, but that's what we always are, aren't we? I mean, we're investors and we're entrepreneurs at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, if it's all our money going in the business, we're the investor. Okay?
Totally.
I mean,
but my experience has been the trump card is the entrepreneur part.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and investor in the company and I'm leaning more on the investor side.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Dude.
Like it's
not good.
It's disastrous, emotionally disastrous.
I agree.
Right? But and then like we talked about on the show, so there's the difference between entrepreneur and investor, but there's also a difference between an entrepreneur and a professional manager, right? Which we're not talking to professional managers on the show. And then you got your solopreneurs that just want to have a small business and just not really grow the business. That's not really entrepreneurial classification,
right?
From our discussions.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't call them solopreneurs. But I hear you. People do. They get mad at me when I say that.
Yeah, but I mean,
but you're right. They're not growing.
They don't have this ambition to build and solve.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And build and sell either.
Right.
So, yep, you're right about that. I'd like to come back to that though in a minute, because I want to talk more about how entrepreneurs don't fit in one bucket.
Yeah.
According to one of the stats here provided to us, women represent 40% of global entrepreneurs, with an increasing presence in male-dominated sectors. So in the U.S., 58.5% are men, 41.5% are women. Average age, 44 years old.
I think that's awesome, man.
I do too. I think it's fantastic. And I'll tell you what, I've seen data that shows that women-owned businesses actually perform better.
Yeah. I can believe that.
So, I mean, we can all hypothesize for the reasons for that.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think that what's awesome about that is that you're seeing that growth and diversity, right? Which, I have seen at my age a lot of that transition, because I think that really has definitely accelerated in the last probably 20, 30 years.
Oh, sure. It has.
But it's very encouraging to see that. And I mean, that balance is great too, because there's, really the reality to it is as a human being in your experience in life from childhood, right? And your self-esteem and your self-concept and all that stuff. And then your vision to make a difference in the world is really I think the components to make a great entrepreneur.
Yeah. No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so like anybody in any race, gender, what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. But those experiences and having the empowerment and the guts to step out into entrepreneur land. I mean, more the merrier. Let's bring it. I love it.
Well, it's the future. I mean, we can talk all we want about big companies and who's hiring and who's laying off or whatever. The entrepreneur creates their own job.
Yeah.
Okay. And anybody can do it, is the bottom line. Anybody at any age, at any sex, of any race.
Yeah.
Here's another one. The average successful entrepreneur is 42% 42 years old. 46% of U.S. entrepreneurs are Gen X and only 7% are millennials. That's interesting.
I thought that was an interesting stat too.
Yeah.
It's like it skipped a generation there a little bit.
Yeah, I do find that interesting. And it says here, entrepreneurs span the early 30s to late 50s. Well, they span more than that because I'm freaking 67. Okay.
That's right.
There's no single entrepreneurial age. I wonder why that is. I mean, again, I just keep coming back to this guy I was interacting with on LinkedIn the other day. My vacation's my time. I'm not going to do that because I'm not an owner of the company and I only get paid so much. If that's your worldview of work, you're not going to make it as an entrepreneur.
No.
I mean, it's just that simple, you know? You're not going to become an owner. You're not going to have a chance. First, you got to think like an owner before you are an owner. In any business, whether you start it or you join one and become an owner, it's so fundamental.
It's interesting. Like you talking about earlier, that business is nothing but problems. If a person or a company could box all its problems up and prevent new problems from coming in, it would be that easy.
Yeah.
But you just
work through them.
Like the boxes, I think, is the same, right? There's just problems, right?
And as soon as you solve one, new ones come up, right? Yeah.
So every business is fighting the problems.
Right.
And as the company gets bigger, the more problems that come in. And so therefore you need more people to handle more of those problems.
Yeah.
But the problems still exist. But I can tell you, I've yet to see C-levels at major companies not work relentlessly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like the upper management, C-levels, and I mean, like I've seen like C-level folks work harder than I could even imagine working, to be honest with you, because the amount of problems that they have to deal with are enormous.
Yep. Even though it's different than being an entrepreneur, they do share that.
100%. Well, they don't have to worry about the problem of the toilet paper running out in the bathroom. Right? They have somebody else that worries about that.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, the box of problems still exists. You just have to deal with more diversity of problems, like from the toilet paper to filing taxes on time and sending the 1099s out.
Yeah. No, just like we were talking with Bob this morning.
Yeah.
It's the same. Yeah. There's no question about it.
So as an entrepreneur, it's like you can't box them in from an 8 to 5 perspective.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing. I mean, if you're going to make the decision in entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to commit.
There are people who will argue with us about that.
Yeah.
All the time. And, like I know somebody who is a very, very successful artist. Like they make big money.
Yeah.
Okay. They own a freaking, giant place in Aix-en-Provence, and have had art in all the major museums around the globe. And she works 8 to 4, 5 days a week with a discipline like nobody you've ever seen. But that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she doesn't do like shows and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But she would say, oh, no, I can do it, you know. But again, I'll go back and say that she's not an entrepreneur.
Right.
She's just a solo producer who makes a really, really good living doing something really well, which is fine.
Which is fine, but that's not what we talk about.
Right.
There's probably a solopreneur podcast out there that's more fitting, right? To discuss how you can manage that and build your own wealth and all that type of stuff. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason she's successful, in my opinion, is, well, first off, obviously she knows how to market herself.
Yeah.
Or she wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And secondly, she's super talented. Mm-hmm. But the third thing is she's got discipline in a field where people don't have any.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it has allowed her to outproduce everybody else. Mm-hmm. She can spit out 5 to 7 paintings a month, whereas other people out there, they work, they don't work, they're not inspired, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all inconsistent.
You know, it's funny that you said the word inspired, right? Like what I think a lot of folks might see us, like we do have a level of vision and aspiration when we walk in a room, right?
Sure.
But it's not always like that. It's most of the time it is that discipline. It's just like working out or something, right? Like you're not motivated to go, you know, run or push weights or whatever it might be. But if you have the discipline to do it. And so like out of pure discipline and obligation and accountability, I show up at places because I'm supposed to do that. And I have to do that. I know that it's super important to be at a certain place and to have my presence there so that the team knows, you know, I don't have to go.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things I don't have to do, but I know that the consequences of them, if my discipline's off on that, then things start breaking down pretty quick. And I'm not always excited about it.
No kidding. I mean, so discipline is another really good characteristic to have.
100%.
If you're going to be an entrepreneur.
So speaking of, like, I've seen a lot of really great military folks in entrepreneurship that I'm just like, dude, I would give anything.
You wouldn't think that, though. You would think, oh, these people are order takers. They want the rules all established for them. It's not necessarily the case.
It's just their relentless discipline.
I see the same thing in students. When I've got students who come out of the military, they're really, really good students generally. Yeah. Okay. It's such a great training ground.
It's awesome.
I mean,
my wife was in the Air Force. Like her discipline is still there today, intact. You know, I mean, it's just like how she was trained. I mean, it's just this clockwork. I mean, you just boom, 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 get it done.
It's like that famous commencement speech from the general, or admiral, or whatever about make your bed.
Yeah, just make your bed.
Start your day with making your bed. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it?
It's totally true, man.
And I mean, we could really go down a rabbit trail on this because I am convinced that when it comes to marketing. This is the biggest problem companies have, and small companies, aside from the fact that they don't believe it works.
Right.
And they don't spend enough on it.
Right.
But the other thing is they do not have the discipline to do every single thing they need to do every day, every week, every month, that if done, will result in business. Always.
I mean, marketing is such a good example of that because too many, I think, small business owners, entrepreneurs are looking for some sort of like one answer.
Magic bullet. Yeah, marketing.
And marketing doesn't work that way.
No kidding.
You got to post all the time. You got to have multiple social media platforms. You got to have a website. You got to have
emails, branding, and all of it
goes down. And all the time you have to focus on that and just keep marching. And then over time it'll start working. And there's no magic bullet to it, but you're right, that disciplined approach to know that you just have to keep going and trucking and taking steps every single day.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. I like this next one too about education levels. About 62% of entrepreneurs hold at least a bachelor's degree. Others succeed with minimal formal education.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Because again, I believe entrepreneurship is about the vision, about the discipline.
Yeah, it doesn't always say 62% of a degree in business, right?
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, you can totally have my degree was in journalism.
Yeah, exactly.
For goodness sakes, you know.
Yeah.
But you take that learning and you apply it to business, like the ability, like what I loved about journalism was I learned how to ask questions to people, to interview people.
Yeah.
And then I learned how to consolidate a conversation into the most meaningful bullet
In a
points.
coherent, yes, exactly. And you also learned about man bites dog.
Yeah.
As opposed to dog bites man.
Right.
Man bites dog gets attention.
Yes.
It's marketing.
Headlines.
Yes, exactly.
Headlines.
No, I get it. I mean, but the degree, the fact that you did that also shows, again, a certain amount of discipline.
Yeah.
You could set a goal. You did all the things that you had to do. You filled the requirements. You got out of school, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, and I could also build a really good case that, honestly, I think a business degree is very helpful. You know, at the Walton College, we've got a completely different, we've got multiple tracks within entrepreneurship, in fact, like product design track or outdoor recreation, you know, or small business or startups, you know, tech-based. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go. But we do provide, I think, education that would be helpful to people to get them a quicker start. But you're right. I mean, any degree, I think, is a plus.
Yeah.
And it shows that you have the discipline to get
The
through.
ability to really learn how to learn.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
And I would say also another highly valuable thing on the education front is your network that you build. I mean, like and I tell this to my daughters all the time. They're worried about what they're going to go study and all this type of stuff. I'm like, look, one of the greatest values is that you are in a position to where you don't have so many responsibilities and you can build relationships with people.
Yeah.
And if you get involved in certain things, like I'm a big believer in the fraternities and sororities, because it's like you're just collecting a lot of people with a lot of diversity.
Sure.
And you're getting to know folks that you never got to know in high school, which was a more isolated experience. And now you get to meet all these folks, and the folks you walk out of college with, because you're learning and you're studying together and whatever it might be, and everybody goes out and gets professional jobs.
Yeah.
There's your network.
Sure.
Right
You
out of
started
school.
it. No, you're right.
You know, and I think that, speaking about our area, like going to the U of A, if you're born here, you go to the U of A, and then you exit the U of A and start your professional life here, like, man, you have greatly increased your chances for success.
Oh, no question.
Whether you're employed or you're starting a business.
Yeah, every one of my kids has gone to the U of A. I got 4 out of 5, and number 4 is there now.
And it's a fantastic school, but your network stays
Sure.
intact.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
Big
right
deal.
about that. So, so education. Here's another one. Motivations are diverse. 60% start businesses due to dissatisfaction with corporate jobs. 29% cite the desire to be their own boss.
So I have an opinion about that stat. Those are dangerous stats to me. You should not become an entrepreneur because you're dissatisfied with your job.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't. That might be
That's a cause of failure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Cause of failure, because it is not the same. It's not the same sport.
No, you're right.
By any means whatsoever.
I get it. I don't disagree with what you're saying.
And now, and then I think the other one about desire to be your own boss is not even, that's not true either. Like, I am absolutely not my own boss.
I know you got your employees and you got your clients. Exactly.
And I got the freaking government.
Right. I get it. You got your wife. I mean, I know.
More bosses
I hear you.
in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I always said that.
Yeah, you just walk around every day with problems, and you're trying to solve them, make people happy and content.
Yeah, you can't just operate with impunity.
No.
It's just like, that's the way it is, Ain't gonna happen. I know. It's so true.
Nobody ever believes do it because I said so. It's all about what you, and here's the thing, you can't say to do something. You have to do something, and then people will do what you do. Because I have tried a hundred times to
not do what I say.
Yeah, it never works.
No,
man.
that doesn't work with your kids either.
No,
it's
it
the
doesn't work
same
with
thing.
anybody.
It's like, don't text and drive, and meanwhile you're texting and driving, or
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, yeah, I get it. It's so true.
Look, and to dive into that point a little bit, what's the I wonder what the psychology behind somebody that's like working for somebody else employed. They're like, I would love to be my own boss. Like, what is it in their minds that makes that they think that that's an attractive option?
I think there's a lot of things. Like maybe they work for somebody who's not ethical, and that makes them feel bad.
Yeah.
Maybe they're working for a company that doesn't put out the quality that they think it should be putting out.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they work for a company that won't innovate or change what it does to better meet the needs of the customers. Maybe they work for a company where they spend all their time in meetings.
Yeah.
And providing information to other people instead of in their primary role,
Right.
which is what they're interested in. I mean, I think all those things are possibilities, don't you?
Yeah, and so that with all those things, they see this attraction of if I could be my own boss, then I can manage this or change this.
Right. That's the real thing. I see what you're saying. It's sort of lumped into I want to be my own boss, but it's like, why do you want to be? That's the question you asked.
Yeah, because I have bad news for somebody that's thinking that.
Yeah.
There are reasons why, I would think in a lot of cases, why a person that's employed does not like something that's going on within that company. Like you mentioned quality, the product quality or ethics of a certain supervisor or what might be. The ability to solve those for any business, and we're talking again about solving problems, it is so challenging for a business to solve all these different problems that are happening.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so like if you want to go out and be your own boss and you think it's going to be just the decision of that, and it's going to make solving that problem that you set out for, like if it's a product quality thing, wait until you get into the weeds of trying to solve that problem.
Right. You may find out it's the problem for a reason.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And it's a bigger damn problem than you could ever thought, that it is, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's...
it's true.
I've experienced this working at bigger companies. There's folks that may not be at senior levels that are just disgruntled with their supervisors, but they don't understand the choices and the problems that they're facing. It's like there's these layers, right? Like entry level doesn't understand, people have been there for a year, and it just stacks on up to the executive and then to the board.
That's a shame, though. I mean, that's not a good... The company needs to communicate with its people differently if that's the case. I'm not saying it's not common.
Right.
But I mean, that is a problem, though.
Yeah.
That is a problem that it's probably within the control of the company to manage better than they are.
And I think a lot of times, like your point, you say this a lot, transparency.
Yes, exactly.
And there's a lot of times at the higher levels, they don't feel comfortable about being transparent about the problems that the company might be facing.
Yeah. It's funny. I've always been one that shared everything, and I really believe in that.
Yeah.
Okay. I've actually started to reconsider that lately.
Uh-oh.
I know this sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying to learn every day. But here's one that is a situation that I think this is one where I wonder if there's been oversharing. Okay. Let's say you've got a company that's not performing financially, and it just keeps getting bailed out over and over and over by its investors. What does that say to management of that company?
That it's not being properly ran.
Okay, but they get bailed out every time.
Yeah.
That
there's going to be another bailout.
Exactly. It's not really that, I hear it's a problem, but you know what? It's going to be okay. Yeah, we're going to get bailed out anyway.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's when I feel like there's almost too much information.
Yeah.
People need to feel like, this could be the last time.
It could.
Okay.
Yeah.
They need that.
Hey, frankly, fear is a pretty big... I heard a statement yesterday about this. There's two things that motivate us as human beings.
Yeah.
There's fear and there's pain. Right? And I mean, and we, for some reason, try to avoid all of those and act like they don't exist.
No, you're right.
That's why people don't want to go work out.
Yeah.
Because it's painful.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, like that, but to have a sense of real fear Yeah. Because things aren't always going to be rosy unless we do something about it.
And that's why I'm saying, in a way, it violates one of my core principles of information sharing.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they see.
Yeah.
They see what happens. I mean, it's like if I told you, 10 times to not light bottle rockets while you're holding them in your hand.
Yeah.
And you did it 10 times, and every time you could throw them and it never burned you.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you going to think about time 11? I could do it.
It's all
but
good.
This thing may blow up in your hand. Okay?
Right.
I mean, it's sort of the same kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, it is a problem. I mean, fear is a motivator. There's no doubt about it. Because, I mean, I think if you really go back and you talk about certain common experiences that a lot of entrepreneurs had, my experience is that many of us felt like in the homes that we grew up in, that the uncertainty of the employment situation for a parent, wondering if they're going to have a job or not, okay, or the uncertainty of the income coming into the family is a super motivator for these people when they get to be adults.
They do. And here's what's interesting about that. Like when I think about that, like I know a lot of folks too. It works the other way. They had uncertainty, they had those things, and so the best course of action is to go get certainty from a major corporation.
Oh yeah,
and work the ladder and just be in that world. Yeah. But all the while, they never really in their heart are wanting to do that.
Yeah, and plus that's always a fake sense of security.
It really is.
You can get fired anytime.
Yeah, I feel more secure as an entrepreneur because I can see what's coming.
Me too. And you got multiple clients and customers. You can get fired by one. You're still in business.
Keep going, baby.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
I do want to say something on the fear thing just to make sure people understand. We don't advocate that there's especially fabricated fear. That's motivating.
No, not at all.
But to admit, like I stay in a fear mode pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of constantly have a fear that does help motivate me.
Oh, I'm always in fear. I always said paranoia drives me. Everybody's out to get me. Okay. I mean, I love it, man. Maybe you feel like that for a good reason. I was saying maybe they are all out to get you. No, I'm constantly in fear. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It's like all my companies, everything I'm involved in, I always feel like.
Always scared.
It's like everything, no matter what the scenario is. It's like,
Dude, you can get, here's what's great. Like your fear of, not having enough revenue, then all of a sudden you land a big job and then
how do I get it done? How do I get it done and not piss off the client?
That's right.
The client.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then
always
fear, is your team going to cooperate? Are we going
to lose one of our key people right now that we're relying on to do this that we just sold? That I know. Oh, I mean,
constant fear.
It's constant fear. Yeah. Absolutely. Or we get a big new lending relationship. What if that goes away? What do we do then? 2 years from now?
Yeah. Tariffs are coming.
That?
Fear there. It's like, what are we going to do to face that?
Oh yeah.
I mean
all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're constantly in a state of fear.
And I think it might be good for an episode to how do we manage that fear, right? I mean, my statement immediately is just work through it. Like you just have to keep plowing, keep the blinders on, keep your head down, just keep driving.
Yep, keep doing the work.
Yeah, man, just keep working.
Do the daily work that you got to do.
Yeah.
Your problems come when you don't do that.
That's right.
Okay. And then they mound up real fast. It's kind of like one of those things where those like comedy skits where they're on an assembly line and something goes wrong and then the stuff just starts piling off the end of the line and turns into a giant pile. It's like that with your problems.
It is.
You got to be sitting there on the line every day dealing with what you have to do or they're just going to mound up on you so fast.
And there's where their discipline comes in.
Yep.
You got to take care of that crap.
So I do think while there's no typical entrepreneur in terms of age, sex, race, whatever, yeah, maybe we can show studies that say 44-year-olds are the most successful or whatever. I saw one that said like 49-year-olds are the most successful. We could hypothesize on that they've got the energy they need, but they still,
it's because of
they
sex.
got experience.
It's sex motivation.
Is that it?
Yeah, it is. It's like, that's actually...
Isn't that one
reaction? But I actually read in Think and Grow Rich.
Taboo topics.
Well, yeah, but in Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yeah.
He talks about that most people, well, this is kind of like your millionaire status, right? The multimillionaires, like most people that are between the ages of 50 to 55 is like the sweet spot because their sex drive
is still there.
It's still,
yeah.
Well, hold on. It's not there as much as it was before. It's not as distracting.
Right.
As it was before. Now they're focused on.
They should really be 67 and fit.
Dude, you have a very bright future.
Oh, Lord.
But that does make a lot of sense.
It does, though. Yeah, but I think they've got experience, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They've had, 25 years of professional work experience out there. You learn from all that.
It's very true.
I mean, it's not just specific skills you learn. You learn about things like staying calm under fire.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it's true.
That's a big one.
It is a big one. And that takes experience that you're going to stay alive. I remember when when I was meeting with you and Ed Friedrichs way back in the day, and I was like 32, and you guys were like,
we're freaking
who knows
old.
how old you are.
Geez, Ed, if he was still alive, he'd be 82 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but y'all were sitting there, and kind of talking about my age because y'all asked, and you're like, yeah, it'd be cool to be back that age. But actually, no, not really. It gets better as you get older because you don't worry as much.
It's so true. Yeah, but doesn't mean we're not scared and paranoid.
That's right.
We still are. You just don't show it.
You don't show it. You don't let it affect you all around.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I found that to be true as well.
Yeah.
Things usually work out well for people that work.
Yeah, it's so true. So while there may not be a typical entrepreneur in terms of all these demographic things, there are some common characteristics, personality attributes or attitudes toward things that seem like they create a higher probability of success as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
We could agree on that, right?
Totally agree.
One of those is the discipline that we just keep coming back to over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard work, discipline. You got those things, you got a lot of what you need. Okay.
You do.
So,
well, thanks, listeners, for joining us again today.
Yeah, it's been
another fantastic. Hey, and thank you, listeners, for subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's growing like crazy. I don't know if you noticed that. But
yeah.
That's going great. We keep getting more subscribers, more views. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's good to see that y'all are enjoying the episodes and keep tuning back in. Tell your friends and homies.
Yes.
Tell all your homies.
Tell all your homies, as Eric says.
Yes.
No, just grab an episode and just forward it along to somebody if you think it'd be helpful to them.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about here.
Yeah, especially those folks that have been talking about being an entrepreneur for years and haven't made that scary step.
Yeah.
But actually, I've seen more cases that people were really happy that they made that move.
It never seemed that scary to me, honestly.
Well, yeah, that's not. Yeah, me neither. It's just, it's just what we do. But I think there's a lot of people.
It's like, what else are we going to do?
Yeah, we don't know anything else. We're ignorant.
We're unemployable.
That's
totally unemployable. Virtually unemployable.
Totally so. But I've seen a lot of folks that have struggled and done analysis paralysis on. I really want to do this dream. Have this vision. But they analyze themselves out of it, and they never make the move. But yet they're absolutely unhappy at what they're doing.
Yep.
They're stuck in a black hole. And I genuinely hate that for people.
I do too.
And I always tell these folks, I'm like, you just got to make the decision and go.
Yep.
But that's a hard one to make.
Yep, no doubt about it.
Thank you all for tuning in. It's been another fantastic episode of
Big Talk About Small Business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.